Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. It's the Monday over here in the Netherlands, and I'm starting the week with a best-of-5 series of Zerg versus Zerg. This particular series was played during Dreamhack Summer Europe a couple of weeks ago, and while I haven't seen the games yet, I do know who ends up winning this series just because I like to watch a lot of StarCraft 2, and it's kind of hard to avoid spoilers. Either way, I think we should be in for a very fun series, at the very least from what I've heard. This is one of the better Zerg versus Zergs that has been played recently. So spawning here in the top right-hand corner of Jagannatha, that's game number 1 in this series, playing with the blue Zerg drones from Germany, we have none other than Lambo. His opponent in the opposite corner with the red Zerg drones from Finland, we're looking at none other than Serral's main hatchery. And Serral, of course, one of the greatest players of all time in StarCraft 2. And actually, as of me making this video, he is once again considered to be the highest ranked player in the world, according to Aligulek. Now, he recently was overtaken by Clem. However, Clem is having a bit of a harder last couple of weeks. So, once again, Serral's on top. It's not so much because Serral has been absolutely dominating the StarCraft 2 competitive scene. It's more so that Clem seems to be struggling a little bit over the course of the last couple of weeks, which is why he's dropped down a little bit, and Serral, who was sitting in second place, is once again on top. Anyways, Serral, I've said this in the last couple of casts as well that I've featured him. He seems to be struggling a little bit more throughout the last year or so. So there was a time where Serral seemed absolutely unbeatable. He was winning tournament after tournament, and he was doing ridiculously well. And while he's still, considered to be one of the very best, there's no denying that he's more mortal these days than he once was. Especially his Zerg versus Zerg seems to be the bane of his existence. The baneling of his... Okay, sorry, it's too early for that. The baneling of his existence. And, even though most of the tournament players right now seem to be Terran and Protosses, so Serral doesn't play that many Zerg versus Zergs, I guess that's kind of his saving grace. Yeah, there's no denying that every once in a while you will need to play ZVZs. For example, against Raynor. Raynor has been winning, I think, I don't know what the numbers are, but probably 9 out of the last 10 times. Something along those lines. Raynor has been, consistently winning against Serral. And obviously on the European ladder, those are, and I guess the European tournament scene, those are the two players that will face off against each other very regularly, especially in the later stages of the tournaments. So when it comes to Zerg versus Protoss and Zerg versus Terran, Serral is in 2021 in tournament games at a win rate of 72% in both. And in Zerg versus Zerg, he's sitting at 59%. So, 59% would still be very good for other players, right? In any of the matchups. But for Serral, that's quite a bit weaker than his ZVT and his ZVP. It does still allow him at a win rate of 69% win rate overall. So, I would say that's pretty nice. It's at least something. It also indicates how much more Zerg versus Protoss and Zerg versus Terran is being played, right? So, ZVZ... 59%, ZVT and ZVP 72%, overall 69%. Anyways, we'll find out exactly what ends up going down here in this series, as both players so far seem to be opening up with very similar builds. So it's a hatch gas pool. I think Serral did not actually pull a drone out of gas geyser there, or maybe he's already added it back in. Either way, hatch gas pool into quick third bases. Baneling nests here are coming up as well. Serral actually already finished his. He's going to go for the evolution chamber a little bit quicker. Wouldn't be surprised to see an evo chamber here for Lambo. Normal timing for that one is right after the baneling nest finishes. So I think Lambo actually added the drone back into the gas a little bit later, meaning that, his evo chamber is also going to be a little bit later after the baneling nest is also ever so slightly delayed. Zerg versus Zerg is a very difficult matchup. I think the best way to describe this one to someone who may not be as familiar with Zerg versus Zerg is, say for example, right, this is an RPG. It's a role-playing game. It's very much so both players putting all of their points in damage and very few in survivability. Right, so both players have 1,000 damage a second, but all the units have 500 hit points, meaning that everything literally dies within half a second. Since the speed is also a huge factor in this matchup, right? Creep is considered to be neutral, so both players actually benefit here from the creep. Serral actually getting a very nice scout in. Okay. He sees no lair yet. He sees a +1 upgrade. He didn't see the second gas geyser through the natural, I suppose. Okay, Serral has decided to go for his own lair, but... Okay, yeah, so that scout actually... He sees that there's still a +1 coming up, but that scout apparently just now triggered him to assume that this is going to be an all-out assault here for Lambo. Lambo, however, I mean, he made a couple of... He's delaying the... Okay, he's delaying the lair. He made a couple of roaches. Right now, he's trying to fake out an attack to his opponent, and it seems to be working, because he's droning behind this. So he made a handful of roaches. He faked going for a late lair. Serral scouted it, and now Lambo is using that information against the opponent. So at this point, all of a sudden, Lambo is 10 workers ahead. When you're both making the exact same unit... Obviously, yeah, having like 20% more income is going to help you out tremendously. Serral's still making non-stop roaches, though. He cancelled the Spinecrawler. He's got +1 missile finishing up. I guess at this point, he doesn't really want to drone behind this, but this is going to be a very important push for him. So this army needs to get some sort of damage done. If it doesn't, he's going to be in a world of trouble. Okay, so Lambo starts up a couple of Spinecrawlers here, 4 in total. Luckily for him, the Roach Warren is actually all the way back there, so at the very least that can't be sniped. Serral's gonna go for a couple of Banelings here over at the front as well. He wants to go for an all-out push. Lair is done here for Lambo, but he hasn't actually made use of any of the tech options just yet. He's just trying to pump out as many units here as possible. Is there gonna be enough right now for the finisher to break through this? I mean, Defender's advantage in this matchup is huge too. So basically what I mean with that is just like... the distance that the units will need to travel after they pop out of the cocoon. Obviously, Lambo's units will spawn much closer to the battle than Serral's units would. And I think so far, I mean, even though Serral's kind of winning the battle, Lambo's winning the war. We're talking 63 workers here for Lambo versus only 44 for Serral. Now, he's got a lot of Zerglings here coming up. He's droning behind it. He's going for a lair. He's going for the +1 Carapace. But this is a very significant advantage right now for the German Zerg. If he would have gone straight into the Glial Reconstitution, so the Roach speed upgrade, I think he could actually counterattack right now. Yeah, he's actually kind of late on starting up those upgrades. Okay, so playing rather safe than sorry, I suppose. He starts up the +2. Probably will go for the Roach speed here shortly, too. But all this time, he's had an upgrade advantage. Or sorry, he's had like an eco advantage, and he's going to be able to now push that into an upgrade advantage as well. Okay. So there's Roach speed. There's the Evolution Chamber upgrade. Yeah, very good game so far. Serral does have a couple of Banelings here in the top left-hand corner. So maybe this can get something done. Lambo usually likes to play pretty defensively as well, so both of these players actually have a pretty similar playstyle. Lambo probably slightly more mechanical than his opponent. Although Serral, I mean, you know, definitely not the most flexible player, I would say. He likes to play very methodically. Fourth Hatcher actually got picked up over here in the top left-hand corner. I don't know if he saw the Banelings there. Either way, there's a Spinecrawler, there's a Queen. I'm pretty sure 2 of the Banes will go down here before anything would get done. So both players are making Roaches and Ravagers. There is a Spire coming up. If Serral can get enough Mutas out, it's going to be doable. But I think in a straight-up Roach versus Roach battle, Lambo is just going to have way more stuff, right? Serral does still have a lot of Zerglings out, so he can try and delay this army from moving out. But Roach speed is finishing. +2 is finishing. Carapace is finishing. Well, actually, no. That's still a little while away. Banelings are trying to get some work done. Love the fact, actually, that Lambo left a couple of Roaches behind. Drones get pulled. Very quick response time right there by Lambo. Very important response time as well, because that was apparently the way that Serral wanted to try and come back. At this point, the Roaches that were defending this also get pushed across the map. Zerglings are ready to go for a counterattack, but I don't know if they're actually going to be needed in the battle or not, right? Sure, you can kill the 4th base, and that's fine and all, but once again, what do you do against this army? Spire is finishing up very soon, but even 10 Mutas are not going to save much. Okay, that 4th base is not going to happen, I don't think, but Lambo realizes it right now. He's ready to sacrifice the 4th to try and go for a battle. At this point, though, it is going to be Serral who's got that defender's advantage. He's making the best of this situation. Pushing up a ramp is extremely difficult. A couple of the units there do get picked off. Serral trying to reinforce this with as many Roaches as possible, but Lambo wants to just jump on top of his army, and right now he's getting the battle that he was looking for. Yep. Not really giving his opponent a whole lot of direction to run into. Serral knows if he loses this army that he loses the game, and indeed, match number 1 is going to go in favor of Lambo. Alrighty, game number 2. We find ourselves on Lightshade. So what exactly went wrong there for Serral in game 1? He got that Zergling scout into his opponent's main base, right? And he saw the lack of lair. Normal timing for the lair. Normally, okay, what you do is you go Baling Nest and you go into an Evo Chamber, Roach Warren, and then a lair. Lambo probably purposefully delayed the lair, knowing that Serral is extremely diligent with that scouting. Serral did also send a scouting follow-up, so he actually sent a Zergling towards his opponent's Evo Chamber, because normally when Zerg goes for an all-out assault like that, Lambo would have cancelled that +1 upgrade. Serral did see that the +1 was still happening, so you can see the little wiggle in, I guess, the Evo Chamber. And Serral still decided to commit to the defense anyway, which I think is strategically speaking probably just barely wrong. Although maybe he thought that that was the mind game, right? That his opponent was going to go for a push. There's like little moves that are being made in Zerg versus Zerg. Very subtle moves that make all the difference. So Lambo ended up with an eco advantage after that. And since, as a follow-up, both of them were making the same units, Lambo just had way more stuff. Right? And that's the nature of ZVZ. While it's very explosive, you don't really have a lot of comeback potential, right? Like, there's not really a whole lot of lucky siege tank positions or disruptor hits or really good blink stalker micro that you can rely on, like in the other mirror matchups. I mean, you can obviously get lucky with bailing hits, right? So if, for example, those drones would have gone down over at the third base, then Serral could have come back, but it's very difficult to pull off. Anyways, game 2. We find ourselves on Lightshade. This map has a very quick rush distance. Both players right now, though, would have seen the Zerglings already moving out. So back in the day, it was normal to start up your third Overlord at 19 supply. These days, people are delaying that until 21. The idea being that if it would be a Zergling push, you would see it with one of your 2 Overlords by 19 supply. And if you don't, it's probably safe to drone up until 21 instead and then make an Overlord, 2 Queens, and a set of Zerglings. A little bit greedy, of course, because, say, for example, it was a 12 pool here. You could just send the Zerglings in a very unoptimized path towards the other side of the map and then catch your opponent with 21 workers and not a whole lot of units for defense. Anyways, there's corners being cut everywhere in this matchup, and it's very easy to accidentally cut one corner too many or one corner too few, and then you find yourself behind. Alright. Ooh. Lambo. Seems to be opening up with what seems to indicate a 2-base opener, yeah. So he's skipping the Baling Nest. He's gonna go 2 minutes and 45 seconds Evo Chamber. This was instantly scouted by Serral. 2-base openers are not the most common, actually, in this matchup. They're quite popular on the ladder. I'm actually really curious to see what Serral decides to do against this, because personally, I do struggle against this a little. So one move that I've been making in my own games against this particular opener is go for a, 3-ish minute Evo Chamber, and just get +1 Carapace going, and then just start up a ton of units at about 45 or so workers. So Lambo is now stuck on 2 bases, but he has saved himself the resources that a third would cost, and he's also saved himself the cost, I guess, of like a Baling Nest and all of those other defensive, meshes that Zerg players like to go for. Serral's gonna have a very hard time breaking through this. You can see that Lambo is walling himself in right now as well, creating like a choke point over here that one queen can hold position in, and obviously this queen over here in the back is gonna generate energy, at which point, transfuses would keep this alive for a very long time, yeah. Decides to now cancel the second Evo as well upon realizing that this is not gonna be a link flood right here from the finished Zerg. Serral instead has decided to go for a lair. He's gone +1 missile. He skipped out the Roach Warren of his own as well, and he's, I guess, gonna sit here at ever so slightly more economy than his opponent. Okay, so Serral playing extremely greedily. So the corner that's being cut right here from Serral, right, is that this could have been a link flood from Lambo. This could have been a 30 drone all-in, where basically you go for an extremely quick lair, you skip even Zergling speed, and you push with the queens across the map. I think against a link flood or that 30 roach push, 30 drone push with the roaches, you basically poop creep and then you get across the map really quickly. I think against those openers, Serral would have been in a lot of trouble. He has very limited info. He decided to go for, basically everything that would help him out in the mid game, but not a whole lot in the early game. It seems like the gamble, though, is paying off this time around. He's got +1/+1 coming. Roach speed is actually not really that far behind his opponents. His third base was, yeah, obviously done significantly before, you know, Lambo's. And at this point, I mean, similar situation as we saw in the previous game. Both players making the same units, except Serral is making it off of way more workers than his opponent. Serral's Overseer right now coming in from 2 sides. So look at this diligent scouting. This is a big indicator right here, the lack of 4th gas, that it's not going to be a Muta transition here from Lambo. So it's just going to be roaches. Serral starts up 8 Overlords. Well, that's one way to bite yourself in the butt, I guess. 8 Overlords is far too many. Maybe a little bit of a panic right here by Serral. Yeah, you can still see. Okay, well, we do see the queens coming across. I know that Lambo likes to go for the 30 drone follow-up for this instead, but now he's got 41 as well as a third. I guess this is still gonna try and blindside his opponent. Serral just handicapped himself, though, by making, like, 5 Overlords too many, which is gonna make this defense harder than it needs to be. Transfuses were saved up here as well for Lambo. Does he have enough to break through this at this point? I mean, I'm looking at the red Zerg player's army, and there doesn't seem to be that much available. Serral obviously does have defender's advantage. Some of that is mitigated, though, by that creep highway that we see. That Autobahn, I guess, right? Because it's a German player. The creep Autobahn going through the center of the map. Serral just straight up taps out. Alrighty. And just like that, just a few minutes into this video, we find ourselves at match point on 2,000 atmospheres for Lambo. Playing a clean series so far, not really making a whole lot of errors. So what exactly went wrong there for Serral this time around? Well, I guess he hit a bit of a supply block and made 8 Overlords, and then he didn't have a lot of units ready for the defense. It's that simple sometimes. He played everything right, I think. Very greedy opener against that start. I mean, that should have been a very straightforward defense right there for Serral, but he made a mistake and immediately got punished for it. At this level, you can't really make mistakes like that. It's actually a pretty uncharacteristic error as well. The way that Serral ended up winning most of the tournaments that he's already won, right? Is by playing mechanically superior to his opponents. Wouldn't be surprised at all if he's very upset at himself for that particular loss. Because making 8 Overlords at once, that's like something I do on the ladder, right? That's not something that Serral should be doing. He probably saw the supply count and he's like, oh my god, I'm at like 80 out of 160. What is this? Someone actually also brought up in the comment section a couple of days ago, which I really quite liked, that Serral is really good in offline tournaments. He seems to be struggling ever since we have moved over to online events, right? So the last event that I personally went to, and I guess the last offline event before, you know, the whole world quarantine situation, was Home Story Cup 20, which Serral ended up winning. Serral is exceptionally good at playing on stage, right? So he's a cold killer. He doesn't really seem to get a very... He doesn't really seem to get very emotional, right? He doesn't really seem to get very stressed out. I hope for his sake, once we go back to, yeah, offline events again, that he's going to feel a little bit more comfortable once again. Because so far, this is looking a little bit shaky. Anyways, Lambo decides to go for a very quick Evo chamber this time around. Okay. So this is cheeky. This is very cheeky. Link speed starts up here for Serral. He's got a scout out that his opponent is playing pretty normal. However, we know that this, this is going to be a +1 melee opener here for Lambo. So basically what Lambo has decided to do is plant down an Evo chamber really quickly. Obviously, his link speed is going to be delayed, so Serral can maybe pick up on that. But, decides to go third queen. What about the third queen? Oh, I think what Lambo is doing is trying to sell this as the exact same opener as he did in the previous game. Yeah, that's what it is. So look, drone on the high ground together with the queen on the ramp. They're blocking any Zergling scouts. So he's gonna show 3 queens. He's gonna show a 2-base opener. And it's working. Serral has cancelled link speed. Serral just cancelled link speed. Oh, God. Serral's got a 3rd base. He's like, wait a second. I didn't play greedy enough. Let me play even greedier. Although I actually don't know if he cancelled it in the previous game. Either way, Evo Chamber starts up here. Roach Warren will probably start up as well, because that seems to be Serral's response to a 2-base start. This is a Link Flood. At least, well, actually, I say that, but he's already sitting at a very high amount of workers. Can you even produce non-stop Zerglings with this many workers? He goes, Evo Chamber right here? Lair comes up for Serral. +1 missile comes up as well. Lambo is trying to play a trickle on his opponent. I feel like if this would have just been a standard good old +1 melee Link Flood, it would have been great. Okay. So he's shown the structures at the front, then cancels them. Now he goes Lair, and I guess gases? So is he gonna go Spire with this? He's making non-stop Zerglings right now. Okay. I think if he would have actually gone for, like, the very low amount of workers in the natural and just non-stop Zergling production, this could have been a win. Straight up. Because Serral, I mean, he didn't go Bailing Nest, he canceled Link Speed. What would he have done? I guess maybe give up the 3rd base and just turtle on 2. Maybe that would have been fine. Either way, Serral sees it right now. He's probably clicked on the Zergling as well. Oh, this is lovely. He's probably clicked on the Zergling as well and realized that it is going to be +1 melee. Needs to be very careful, though. Zerglings in these numbers can easily kill small Roach armies. Roaches will decimate Zerglings when they have, like, a big ball of them and you can't surround all of them. But, you know, if it's only a small amount, it's relatively surroundable, I guess. So this was just an opener to go for a kill on the 3rd base? Is that what it was? I guess so. Huh. He's now transitioning towards a Spire. I really like the way that Lambo is playing the series, man. Lambo is playing a very intelligent game. Needs to get rid of that. Okay, that changeling. The council on the Roach Warren, though. Oh, he's killing his own creep tumors. That's so sick. Yeah, so he's killing his own creep tumors. When you're playing Ling Muta, you don't need creep. Like, the creep benefits your opponent more than it benefits you. Lambo, dude. Loving this. Very nice. We never see people killing their own creep tumors because, you know, it feels bad. Serral's got Roach Speed coming up. He's already got +1 missile done. He's going +1 Carapace. He's going Spores right now too, though. Is he going to go for a push? So, I don't think he can. Right? So this is kind of forcing Serral into a defensive game. So I think he scouted the Spire. Yeah, he did see the Spire. But, like, what are you going to do? There's so many Zerglings available at this stage in the game. Instantly into the 4th base. Yeah, the +1 melee really shuts down these Roach pushes quite well. Because just pure Zergling would do phenomenally well against just, you know, those Roaches. Maybe not phenomenally well, but it would do pretty well. This is now going to force Serral into a defensive start. I really like this opener. I'm going to try and pick this up. I'm going to study this build and actually play it myself on the ladder as well. This is very clever. So, every single time I see a game of Zerg versus Zerg where one player is playing Mutas and the other one is playing a defensive Roach, I guess, Queen style, I pretty much always favor the player that's playing Mutas, just because the margin for error is tiny and, you know, you have a lot more room for error with Muta openers. It's definitely not that, like, Lambo is significantly ahead in this game. It's just that Serral can accidentally make one little slip up and then it's game over, right? Lambo's gonna start piling on the pressure. I think this works really well on the ladder. This seems like a really good build for the ladder. Alright, so what does Serral have coming right now as far as counter-attacking goes? He's got Roaches. He's got Tunneling Claws here finishing up, so that's the Roach Burrow upgrade. And then he's got Burrow too. So he's gonna be able to start tunneling those Roaches towards the other side of the map. Lambo is currently just happily macroing up. Hitting a bit of a supply block, it seems. Going +2, going Baneling speed. Okay. Now, this is a game that Serral has got a lot of experience with, but I've also seen Serral lose these type of games very often. The problem is that, once again, margin for error is very small, and he's not going to be able to really secure a 4th base easily. So he's going Infestor, Queen, Roach, Ravager. Huh. Okay, Roaches have made their way on over to the 3rd. A couple of Roaches over there as well. He's just scouting around, trying to get some points on the board, right? Yeah, this is a very conventional style of Zerg going up against a very strange style of Zerg that makes a lot of sense. if you like forcing out these Muta games. It was basically just a little link push designed to kill the third base. That's literally all that Lambo was doing here. Alright, so now we're talking 77 workers, soon to be 80 for Lambo. Against 3-base Zerg here for Serral. Now, resource-wise, this red Zerg player should trade quite a bit better than the blue Zerg player. So Lambo actually is gonna, well, he's gonna try and take a fourth over there. He's gonna accidentally find a bunch of Banes. Lambo wanted to go for a Baneling roll-by. He's got a Hive done as well, so he's already gonna go into Lurkers and then also into Vipers. So the ultimate unit composition for Zerg versus Zerg is Hydra, Lurker, Viper. It kills everything. Yeah. What are you gonna do now, Serral? Or sorry, Lambo. Lambo is gonna try and overwhelm this. And while that's certainly doable, Serral's army is spellcasters, right? So technically he should be great. There you go, Fungal. Yep, technically he should be great. Realistically, though, it's very easy to fat finger any of your hotkeys and make a little bit of an error. Like, this is ideally what you want to do. Roach, Ravager, Hydra, Lurker, Viper, Infestor, Queen. Like, where do you even, like, where do you hotkey this? How many hands do you need? Yeah, Serral is looking rock solid here as far as the defense goes. Problem is, though, only just now is when he's finally securing a fourth base. Lambo is going for a fifth. Lambo is going for, I guess, a Hive. Oh, God. Fungal Growth and Parasitic Bomb right here on those Mutas. Looks like only a handful of Mutas have really gone down, though. Good splits there by Lambo. Might be time to give up the Roaches relatively soon to transition towards Hydras instead. Okay, that's an important cancel, though. Nice move right there by Lambo. Hydras are being built. God, how many? 11 queens, 4 infestors. Yeah, this is... okay. Roaches have made their way on over to the natural expansion. Serral once again buying a little bit of time. So if you look right now at resources lost, as the game progresses, right now it's relatively even, slightly in favor, I guess, of Serral, but as the game progresses, assuming this game will progress for a little while longer, this should go in favor of the Finnish Zerg player. You can get some wombo combos, right? Like Fungal Growth, Parasitic Bomb, Lurkers. I mean, these Banelings should not achieve anything. Fungal. There you go. Haha. So pretty. Yeah, that's so pretty. So a handful of drones end up going down here. Even these trades over here, very efficient for Serral. Lambo is cleaning it up, yes. But it's buying time for Serral. It's giving him the margin here for a fourth base. And what he needs first and foremost at that fourth is the gases. Hydrolurker, Viper, Infestor. I mean, it's great, but it also is extremely gas heavy. So you can see so far, Army's actually slightly in favor right here of Serral. Lambo going for a Baneling drop here too. But I think this is a really good Lambo, or a really good build order for the ladder, right? Because, like, the thing is, you're not really going to face people like Lambo, or sorry, like Serral, or Lambo, I guess, on the ladder. Or, I mean, unless you're like Raynor and you're watching this. Maybe you laser. Beautiful splits right there, by the way, as well. Ultra Cavern. Alright, Ultra Cavern and Adrenal Glands. +2 is coming up. Lambo is going to go the entire opposite direction here with this game, as far as, like, unit composition goes. We have Ultraling Bane, Muta, going up against Roach, Ravager, Hydra, Lurker, Viper, Queen, Infestor. Like, it sounds funny to even say it, because this is like, how do you even control... I genuinely do not know how these Zerg players control this. Well, the way they do it is with, you know, 1,000 actions per minute when they need it. I've tried it. I promise. It's very hard. I always joke that I only have 2 hands. And that I would be much better at this game if I had 3, but... pretty sure Serral has 2 only as well. So he's got a bit of a Roach squad over there, killing a couple of drones, getting some work done. Zergling run by over here, dealing a little bit of damage, but Lambo is Even though he's supposed to be the one that has the map control, he's really not. Once again, roaches have made their way over here. This is plenty of roaches to kill all of this. Serral's given up the roaches right now as well on purpose, so he's not really too concerned about inefficient trades. Parasitic bomb! Oh my god. Last second split right there. Decent, but that was extremely late. He's replacing the roaches with hydras. So Parasitic Bomb is an area of effect skill that deals 120 damage. Mutas have 120 life. Meaning that if you don't split, most of your mutas will probably get popped. Now they do regen life as well, but... Fungal Parasitic Bomb is an insane combo. 31 drone kills here actually by Serral, even though it's supposed to be Lambo that's the aggressor here. Okay, Blinding Cloud does pop up. Parasitic Bomb once again. Oh, this time around not on the Muta, but on the Overseer. Ultras are available, but Ultras... Oh my god, in this little concave, the Lurkers do so much damage. I want to go back into this replay and study this Lambo build. Even though I think Serral is playing a significantly more impressive game. Ay. Once again, on the Overseer. Why on the Overseer? I guess the Overseer's dying would kind of suck, because then the Lurkers will not be spotted. My god, Serral, this was a beautiful game by Serral. That was gorgeous. Really nicely done. Alright, important win right there as well for Serral after 2 pretty frustrating losses, I can imagine. We find ourselves on Oxide next. Genuinely though, right? I wonder this all the time. Not even just with Zerg players, but with Terran and Protoss players as well. But especially with Zerg players, because they have... Like, their late game armies are so spellcaster heavy, right? So the army literally was Roach Ravager, Hydra Lurker, Infestor, Viper, Queen, Spore Crawler. Right? Like, that's effectively what the unit composition was. Now, some of those units can go on the same control group, but most of it can't. So we're talking Serral probably microing an army with 5 control groups and not really making any mistakes along the way. It's still Zerg versus Zerg. It's still a matchup where you can accidentally lose just by making a stupid error. And where you're, forcing yourself to play that many hotkey groups. I don't know, man. I don't know. Cool opener right there by Lambo. I think it works against 99% of the Zerg players out there. Actually, if you're Lambo, it works against 99.9999999% of the Zerg players out there. There's probably like 3 Zerg players that don't mind playing against that. And those can be counted on one hand. Anyways. Hatch gas pool once again. So just to clarify, if you're watching this and you're a ladder hero, and you're wondering why these players keep going hatch gas pool and they don't keep on dying against cheese. Because if you play Zerg versus Zerg on the ladder, most of the early game will be 12 pools and, you know, very quick Zergling upgrades and just extremely aggressive openers. Turns out when you have really good micro and really good game sense and you know how to defend those cheeses, you don't really die to them anymore. So at the pro level, there's... I mean, we do still... we see Dark pretty much always going 12 pool in a series of ZVZ. But in general, it almost seems like there's a bit of a gentleman's agreement where both players are like, nope, we're not going to cheese each other very often. I still feel like, though, that Lambo had an opportunity to win that previous game, right? So Serral played... he went for the cancel on the Zergling speed when he saw that his opponent was opening up 2 base. Right? That was very greedy. I am not entirely sure what he would have done, though. If it would have just been like quick +1 melee, quick Zergling speed, and then straight into, you know, a push across the map. I guess Serral could have probably given up the 3rd base and then walled off the natural. But +1 Zerglings actually deal a lot of damage to just queens that are in the wall off, so I'm not sure. Anyways, Lambo going Bailing Nest inside of the main base, Evo Chamber at the front, very aggressively. Serral here skipping the Bailing Nest once more. Zergling Scout tries to get in. Ooh. Lambo tried to block the Link Scout from going in as well by pulling a drone and putting it in a hold position. Lambo has been hiding Zerglings, that Evo Chamber is a fake. He sold the story that he's skipping the Bailing Nest so that Serral is also free to skip the Bailing Nest. And right now, Serral's going to find out that skipping the Bailing Nest may have not been the best move. He's going +1 melee here. There's just way more Zerglings here for Lambo. Do you give up the third base here if you're Serral? I mean, Lambo is actually just... Okay, yeah, I don't think you have much of a choice. Lambo is actually not even going after the third base. Instead, he's going to go for what seems to be an all-out assault right now. Against the front. Okay, Queen's here, reducing some of the surface area. Link's still out on the map, trying to see if they can poke some holes into these Banelings. Bane speed did finish up. Serral creating a full wall off right here on the ramp. Splits the drones up in the natural. He does have a pretty significant worker advantage, I suppose. So he's okay to lose a couple of workers. Is this what it's gonna be? Huh? Both players just making non-stop Lings and Banes. +1 melee was cancelled as well by Serral, by the way. Just to squeeze out more units. So far, 6 drones end up going down, which evens up the worker count. Serral obviously losing a lot of mining time here as well. Defender's advantage, though. Nothing to scoff at. Okay, good. Good right here for Serral. Yeah, I think he's cleaning this up. Keeping the Banelings alive for a long time as well. Beautiful control right there. Oh. Almost a disaster. Watching high-level players play Link Bane battles makes you feel so insignificant. That was Serral losing. Like, this is... I can almost guarantee you that Serral's like, ah, dang it, I've lost 6 workers, right? Should have lost 2. This is probably Serral not too comfortable with the situation that he's in right now, even though most of us would have lost the game. Either way, now all of a sudden, we're talking Serral on 3 base. Lambo on trying to take a third, but I think the third is not going to live. Good baiting right there as well by Serral. Yeah, third base gets cancelled. And he's going to try and get on out of there. Alright. Whew. Carapace comes up for Serral. Melee comes up for Lambo. Usually when players open up melee, they will lock themselves into playing Mutas as a follow-up. In Link Bane battles, though, +1 melee is phenomenal. It's just that Carapace nullifies it. So +1 melee allows your Banelings to one-shot Zerglings. However, with +1 armor, it once again takes 2 Banelings to to kill a Zergling of your opponent. A little bit of dancing around the map as well. Players trying to here outsmart each other. Serral making Link Bane off of 35 drones. Lambo off of a little bit less. Serral right now sees the lack of scouting, or sorry, sees the lack of tech here as well. Roachworn comes up for the finisher. A lot of Link Bane over here out on the map. He sees an upgrade being researched. He sees that only just now a gas is being taken. Third base will be coming up. Lambo actually hit a bit of a supply block there as well earlier. So he was making a lot of overlords at once. Loses one of them here at the front too. Still though, one little Baneling hit and this can be the end of the series. Okay. Ooh. Ooh. Can't believe he didn't detonate that Bane. Probably really wanted to get a juicy hit or nothing. Third hatchery is better than bruised, but it will stay alive for now. When +1 melee finishes, though, which is very soon, those Banelings are gonna... Or sorry, those Zerglings are gonna have a much easier time cleaning all of this up. Okay. Oh, I do not like this. No, I do not like this here for Lambo. That wall is still intact. Serral kills like 5 Banelings for basically free. Still scouting inside of the main base as well. Lambo's going Lair. He's going Roachworn. But he's going Roachworn with +1 melee, right? And that's kind of awkward. Like, the +1 Carapace obviously benefits both Roaches as well as Zerglings. Whereas the +1 melee only really helps out Zerglings and Banelings. And usually in the mid game, Lings and Banes are just not really going to do it anymore unless you're playing Mutas. So it's an awkward scenario where like... Oh my god! Woo! It's an awkward scenario where those units are basically irrelevant. And that upgrade is like not very useful either, so... Serral's now ahead economically. He's ahead tech-wise. And I would say he's also ahead as far as upgrades go. Lambo still decides to go for the Spire. Serral always with a Zergling in there though. Sees the Spire coming up as well. I think he just goes for a push. Yeah. I do not mind the idea of just going for a push here. I've seen Serral go Nidus Worm as well off of 55 workers. Which is also not a bad idea. There's still some Banelings here at home for Serral, so these Links are probably not going to achieve that much. As a matter of fact, I think Lambo may very well need those Zerglings on the other side of the map. Okay, he's trying to go for a wraparound. +1 Carapace is done though here for Serral, right? So the +1 melee here is not that useful. Although this is going to buy enough time for the Spire to finish. Yep. Did he cancel the Spire? Oh, he canceled the Spire. Serral knows about this before I did, even though I have perfect vision. What the... There's like... I look at where the Spire was and there's a changeling there. So Lambo canceled the Spire. Well, now I like it even better for Serral. Yeah. Yeah, now there's very little... not going well here for... I mean, Serral's behind, I guess, in army value right now. So if Lambo wants to do something, he needs to do it soon. I think he wants to go for a push over at the third base with the roaches and then a Ling run by in the natural. There's just a couple of Baney boys already, you know, ready to... oh, well. Ready to deny that. Maybe he wants to go for a swoop or a swoop in. But it's not that many Zerglings either. You can't really go for the wraparound very easily. Okay. Is there enough right now, though, for Lambo to push through this? This is looking like a dangerous army here for Lambo, but the problem is in ZVZ, man, the upgrades are so huge. Serral has got the defender's advantage here, too. So even though this fight seems to be going in favor of the blue Zerg player, defender's advantage kicks in. Roaches spawn basically where the battle is. Ravagers are the only units that are left over. He walks through the corrosive piles, and GG is called. Serral wins the game. Alrighty. So, that brings us to the rubber match. The final game of this best-of-5 series is gonna be on Blackburn LE. Serral seems to be playing a little bit better so far this series. Although, the advantage is razor thin, right? First 2 games, a little bit sloppy. Last 2 games, much cleaner. Blackburn is a bit of a crazy map. Not only do the players not spawn, you know, opposite each other. We have one of them spawning in the bottom right. The other one spawning in the bottom left. Plus, this map features just interesting patterns. In Zerg, for example, we see the gold base coming into play quite a bit. You can imagine if you're both making the same units. Once again, right? I'm really hammering on this, but if you're both making the same units off of the same amount of workers, however, you have a couple of drones over at the gold, life's gonna be... Oh! Life's gonna be quite a bit better for you. Risky move here by Lambo, who decides to skip the natural, skip the third, and go straight for the gold base. This could have gone terribly wrong. If Serral would have gone 13-12, 12 pool, any variant, right? If he would have gone for any sort of aggression, as soon as that overlord gets across the map, he knows that it's either an aggressive opener from the opponent or a gold base first. This is Lambo playing a little bit more freely. I'm not surprised Serral's not going for the gold base first, but I like this situation a lot. I think if you're gonna go for the gold base, finding out that your opponent also went hatch first is exactly what you want. Alright. He's even gonna transfer the boys. I guess this is technically... So every second that a drone is not mining, you lose like 0.8 minerals. So, you know, a golden mineral patch returns 7 minerals a trip, whereas a blue one returns 5. So they need to do a lot of trips is what I'm trying to get at before this is justified and before Lambo will actually start making a profit. What do you do right now if you're Serral? If you play normal, you're gonna fall behind. If you go for all-out aggression and you don't win in the next, like, 2 minutes, you fall behind. Lambo has played his move. What are you gonna do? Alright. Well, so far, Serral is not doing anything. He's just playing what is normal. Third hatchery comes up as well. For Lambo, that is. Both players, but Lambo takes his in what normally is his natural.
Swarm forces under attack.
This is such a juicy base right now, though. So if you look at the income, yeah, you can see Lambro over here getting ever so slightly more income. It's not huge. I don't want to, like, overestimate the amount of value this is going to return either. One feature that golden bases always have in StarCraft 2 as well is that they are only in sets of 6. So there's 6 mineral patches here. Whereas for a blue base, there's 8. And you can do the math, but it basically comes down that if both bases are fully saturated, right? So if Serral has 4 more drones over here than Lambo has, basically it's the same amount of income that it generates. The gold base will just mine out faster over time, because obviously these mineral patches are still going to have the same amount in it. They return more per trip, therefore this base will run out faster. So, the advantage is there, but it's not huge. I like what Lambo is doing. Going for a push here with, once again, Ling Bane. If he can play a similar game as he did previously, it's going to be pretty good for him. I'm actually surprised with the lack of response here from Serral. I'm trying to figure out, though, what the best response is. Oh, he's missing a Queen Inject. I'm trying to figure out what the best response for him is, and I'm not sure. I guess what he's doing here makes a lot of sense. It's just, yeah, he's just ignoring it. Okay. So, personally, I would kind of freak out over seeing my opponent has got the gold. Apparently, Serral's like, yeah, sucks. Sucks to be me. And, you know, then he moves on. It's a huge risk, though, right? Because if this would have been... If, like, nobody would do this against Dark, I don't think. Oh, looks like there was a little bit of a bailing hit there, but nothing too crazy. I don't think anyone would really do this against... Ooh, against Dark. Because Dark, you know, in every single ZVZ series that I see him play always mixes in a couple of cheeses. But it makes a lot of sense that if you're going to make this move at the pro level in a tournament in an important match, you do it against Serral. Serral obviously also feels the pressure, right? He's likely going to open up what is his most comfortable style. And apparently that's going to be the, yeah, the hatch first. Anyways. Enough about the gold. Lair's already done for Lambo. He's going +1 missile. He's going roach speed. He's making non-stop units. He's making non-stop units. Serral here is sitting at 60 workers. He's gonna just go non-stop units right now of his own. Ooh, good detonation right there for Lambo. Popping one of the banelings right before the battle begins. I wonder if this is enough spine crawlers, man. I guess you want to have a lot of units here available as well, but this is going to be a +1 roach speed timing attack. The classical push, the one that we've been seeing since the dawn of StarCraft 2. Well, I guess Roach Ravager wasn't a thing then, it was just roaches with speed, but the point still stands. Roaches with +1 and speed is a very killer movement to go for, because this is like, it's going to hit like a truck. Basically, Lambo can always retreat, whereas Serral can't really counterattack, right? Because he doesn't have roach speed here. However, once again, if Serral buys enough time, he's going to be in a great spot because Defender's advantage is huge. Oh, Zerglings could have gone in. Zerglings could have gone in. Okay, Spinecrawler taking a lot of damage. It's going to be biled down, but not quite enough just yet. +1 is done on both sides. Serral trying to reinforce this to the best of his abilities, and I think he will be able to hold this eventually. The question is, how much damage is he going to take in the meantime? Queen's obviously also pulled here. Although, that being said, Lambo actually right now has the reinforcement showing up. They naturally form a bit of a concave, which means that he gets a lot more surface area right here on those red roaches. Even though this fight, I think, should have gone a little bit better there for Serral, there's not enough. And with that, Lambo moves on in the tournament by taking down the player who many consider to be the greatest of all time. As a matter of fact, I just had a quick look, right? So, for the German fans out there that are unfamiliar with Lambo's results in this tournament, I mean, spoiler alert, I suppose, but he went 3-1 against Gung Fu, 3-2 against Showtime, 3-2 against Serral, 3-2 against Hero Marine, and then he lost 2-3 against Raynor in the semifinals. What I'm trying to say is that Lambo is looking very good right now. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as future videos go live. For now, though, thanks for watching. Have an awesome day. Don't forget to smile. And I'll see you once again in the next one.